إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَلَلدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. And the life of this world is nothing but play and amusement. But far better is the house in the hereafter for those who are al-muttaqun. Will you not then understand? I'm sure we've heard this many times before, and we appreciate and understand. But of course, how to inculcate that into our life and make that have some meaning in our everyday life, inshallah. So I wanted to start off by sharing a story, a simplistic story, but inshallah, hopefully this will help to maybe illustrate in some way for us this life and the importance of how we use this life for the next life, inshallah. So, the story basically takes place, there's two people in the story. So the first person is, his name is called him John. Okay, so John, he's on a ship, and there's a shipwreck, and he gets stranded on an island, and all of a sudden there's people living on this island. They come to him, and they start, they grab him up, they take him to the middle of the island where the people are living, and he comes to find out that he's now their king. And he's like really amazed by this situation that he's now, that's before him. And they show him the palace, they show him, that he's attendees, they show him, everything, and he starts asking for food, he starts, whatever he wants, they start giving it to him, and because he's the king. He's now starting to, realize that every desire, every want, every whim that he has, he's just asking, and the people are rushing to fulfill his commands and his desires and his whims, and and he's really enjoying himself as the king of this island. So he's getting the best food, the best clothing, the best, he's partying, he's just really having a really wonderful time. And so, days, months, whatever, years go by, and then all of a sudden, the people, before they were always, yes sir, what can we do for you? Anything, sir, we're here for you, let us know what you want. They come to him, and they're not talking to him anymore. And he's like, okay, so what's going on? I want this, and they're not paying attention. They just grab him, they take him out to the edge of the island, and put him on a ship, and all the while, he's like, where are you going? Where am I going? What's going on? Where are you taking me? And they're not talking to him, they're not saying anything to him. They just put him on this ship, they go off, away from this island to another island, and they just throw him off on that other island, and the whole time he's like, I'm your king, what's going on? What are you doing to me? And the ship just, the people get on the ship and they leave, and he's just stuck on this island, and it's a barren island, there's nothing there, and he's just like, jumping up and down, like, what's going on? What happened? Why are you leaving me here? So now enters the second person in our story. We'll call him Yahya. Same thing. He gets shipwrecked, but on this same island. So he comes to, and the people come to him, and same thing. They come to him. You're now our king, and whatever you want, we'll do whatever you want. And they take him to the palace, and so on and so forth. But now he's like, starts to question. This is really weird. What's going on? I'm the king, and you're going to listen to whatever I do? And he starts asking questions. So how long have you been doing this? And he's, this is just our custom. This is what we do. Whenever somebody gets shipwrecked on the island, we make him the king. And so how long am I the king? And he goes, well, the next time the next person comes, they'll become the king, and you're not the king. So then he goes, so then what happens to me? Well, we take you, we just throw you, discard you on one of the islands, off many islands here and there, we just discard you on one of those islands. So then he's like, well, can I change this, because I'm the king? And he's, no, this is just the way we do things. This is what's going to happen. So then he's like, okay, can you show me which island you're going to take me to? So then they say, sure, you're the king, so come, we'll take you, we put him on the ship, we go and say, yeah, see, this is the island that, when the next king comes, we're going to throw you on that island. And he's looking at that island, he's seeing it's barren. There's nothing on that island. It's completely, like if he were to be thrown there, he wouldn't survive more than a few days because there's no food, no water, no shelter, no nothing. And so he's coming back and he's just thinking, and the townspeople or the village, the islanders are kind of interesting. This is a different kind of a king. Usually the kings, they come, they want to enjoy themselves, they want to have fun, they want to play, but this one is like, he's just sitting there sulking. And then all of a sudden the king is like, you know what, can we take some food from here and put it on that island? And they're like, yeah, sure. So he starts telling them, okay, grab this food, grab that food. And then he's like, and there's no animals there. Let's take some of those animals, and let's, take some animals. And then he starts going, back and forth between this island and the other island. And he's building, he's having the workers, from here. And all the while they're saying, we have this party, we have this festival. And he's like, no, I don't have time for that. I don't know when the next king, the next person is going to, shipwreck is going to come. So just, hold on. We need to take care of that island right now. So, day in and day out, he's like going there to that other island. And he's putting housing there, he's putting farms there, he's getting people to start, animals and food, and then he's even saying, well, you know what, let's take some workers, you can come over there, so, if I need your help, you'll be able to help me with. And so as he's doing this, weeks and months and stuff go by, and then all of a sudden, the same thing happens. The islanders stop talking to him, they stop, obeying him, they just grab him, and they start taking him to the ship. And immediately he knows what's going on. And he goes with them without questioning, without talking. In fact, he's actually sighing a little bit of relief. Fine, I'm done. He gets on the ship and they take him to the island, and he gets off the island, he doesn't even turn back. He doesn't even look at the ship leaving because he's finished. And he's actually sighing a sigh of relief as he gets off onto his island now, which has all been prepared for him. I think the story is pretty straightforward, doesn't need a lot of explanation. But subhanAllah, this is our life here in this world. How do we take advantage of this life to prepare for the next life? And when you look at the difference between Yahya and John, the first thing that Yahya did, he starts asking questions. You have to ask questions. Why am I here? Where am I going? What happens after death? Those are big questions. The most important questions that you can ask. And you don't want to brush those aside for later. You should be asking those questions now. And then as you ask those questions, then what comes after the questions? You start getting knowledge. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't put us on this earth without the information that we need to be successful. Alhamdulillah. He sent the Prophet, He sent the Quran, we have the example, the best example. So it's not like a guessing game. We can find out what we need to do to succeed in this life for the next life and prepare for the next life. But subhanAllah, in this day and age, we are living in the age of John, which is, this me generation, this, the FOMO, fear of missing out, very much only worried about here and now. And we don't think about tomorrow. And even if we do think about tomorrow, it's in a very fleeting way. It doesn't extend beyond death. Right? The tomorrow that we're going to worry about is, okay, I want a house, I want a car, I want a retirement. But we're still not able to get past this life to what comes after. And so I want to share an ayah from a translation. Translation is a pretty long ayah, 2 ayahs actually, from the Quran. Know that the life, and this expounds even more into more detail about the topic that I'm talking about. Know that the life of this world is about amusement and diversion and adornment and boasting to one another and the competition and increase of wealth and children. Like the example of a rain whose resulting plant growth pleases the tillers, then it dries and you see it turn yellow and it becomes scattered debris. And in the hereafter is severe punishment and forgiveness from Allah and approval. And what is the worldly life except the enjoyment of delusion? Race towards forgiveness from your Lord, and a garden whose width is like the width of the heavens and the earth, prepared for those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. That is the bounty of Allah which He gives to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty. There was a lot, of course, in these ayat. I just want to focus on just one small section of the ayat, which is basically, this is the example of a rain whose resulting plant growth pleases the tillers. Then it dries and you see it turn yellow, then it becomes scattered debris. SubhanAllah, this is a powerful analogy of a farmer. He gets really excited, he's doing all this work to cultivate his farm, plant the seeds, get everything ready for his crop. And he's waiting for that rain, because when the rain doesn't come, there's drought. And you see all the families that are taking place all over the world, so this rain is critical. And then when it comes, then the plants start to grow and come out of the ground. And so the analogy that Allah is giving here is, this person who's like so excited, so enamored by this single crop, this single, thing that he's planted. But he's not thinking beyond that. Not realizing that very shortly that crop is going to turn yellow and it's going to wither away. So, if he's really smart, if he has the rest of his life, even if it's not the rest of his life, it's just the next season, he needs to be careful about how he plants, what he plants, and then how he, takes care of that crop to help him after, because, the plants, when they come to fruition, they don't last more than a few weeks, and then they're gone. So you have to take out you extract your harvest, and you have to use them for the rest of the year or whatever, depending upon how long you might need it. And that is this life. This life that we have, it's a single harvest. It's one harvest. Even though we're going to live for whatever Allah has to create, 40, 30, 50 years, maybe some of us 100 years, but it's one crop, one harvest that we're going to plant, we're going to cultivate, and we need to be careful that we don't just simply focus on just the growth of this crop. We need to realize that we need to extract stuff out of there we're going to use it for the akhir, for the next life. Now, so basically, the question there is like, how do we prepare for death, and paradise and stuff like that. And, like a general answer, if I want to give a general answer, like I could relate this one hadith, for how do we cultivate the best way in this life for the next life. The Prophet Muhammad said, every one of my ummah will enter Jannah, right? Because that's what we're striving for, except those who refuse. So then he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, or actually the companions asked him, who would refuse? So then he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever obeys me shall enter Jannah, and whoever disobeys me has refused to enter Jannah. Inshallah, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll pick up in the next part of the Khutbah, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So obeying the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in another, that's of course the most important thing, doing what he tells us to do and staying away from those things that he tells us to stay away from. And in another hadith, which also further elucidates this example, is and he, the Prophet Muhammad said, there is nothing that will take you closer to paradise, but that I have enjoined upon you, and there is nothing that will take you closer to the hell fire that I have warned you from it. Now, if we stop there, that's a lot, right? And for in this day and age, the age of John, we need quick answers. We need something more focused. And there's so many things you can do. And if you think back of our analogy, if you're a farmer, if you're going to plant, there's many things you can plant. But what is the most important thing that you could plant? You know, and I want to, what is the most important thing that if we're going to plant? If we have, many things that we can do, and like sadaqah, fasting, being good to your parents, telling the truth. I mean, there's many things that the Prophet is supposed to do, and many things he told us to stay away from. Stay away from all the major sins, minor sins, and so forth. But what is that? Is there something that is really critical? That's like if you were to talk about if you're going to plant corn, or you could you grow apples, or you could weed or whatever. What's that crop that you definitely need to be planting? So inshallah, in Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, out of all the ways through which my servant gets closer to me, salah is the dearest to me. What better thing that we would be planting and preparing than that which is the most dearest to Allah, which is the salah. And just think about it. Allah told the Prophet ﷺ many things that we're supposed to do and not supposed to do. But the salah, this is the one thing that the Prophet ﷺ had to go all the way up to the seventh heaven in Isra and Miraj and get directly from Allah. Nothing else. It was that important. Not even Angel Jibreel went that high to get this command. And in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, the first thing which will be judged among the person's deeds on the day of resurrection is the prayer. And I'm sure we've all heard this before, right? This is the first thing that we're going to be asked about, is our salah. If that is in good order, he will pass the test and prosper. But if that is defective, he will fail the test and be rejected. Now, I know some of us, we might be thinking, but I'm a good person. I have good, I love Allah. Is it really that important? I don't do any big sins. I stay away from all the big sins. I stay away from, and I'm such a good person, and maybe I can give sadaqah. But just consider this, after Fatih Mecca, the different groups, tribes were coming and coming into Islam. And the people of Taif, they sent a delegation as well, to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and basically they were trying, just like many other tribes, they were basically negotiating about coming into Islam as well. But the people of Taif, they had these conditions, we'll come into Islam, but, and then they started putting these different conditions. One of the conditions that they put is, Taif is up in high in the mountains, right? So it's kind of cold and chilly where they are. And so they were arguing, or trying to make the claim that, this prayer, it's kind of hard on us. It's cold for us to be making wudu and to be bending over and going on the ground and all that sort of stuff. It's really difficult for us. Can we just, we'll come to Islam, but can we just leave this part, just exempt this from us? And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and listen to this very carefully, there is no good in any religion that doesn't have salah. Just think about that. So it doesn't matter if you're doing sadaqah, if you're all that other stuff, whatever you're doing, if you don't have the salah in it, the Prophet is saying it's no good. And it makes sense, right? Because the hadith says, the first thing you're going to be questioned about is your salah, and if it's in order, you're in good shape. If it's not in order, you're in trouble. And just maybe to get, illustrate this with a few simple examples of, maybe what this entails. You can imagine like an employee, he's working in a factory, He's working very hard. He's working, hard. And he's Monday through Friday. He comes in early and he puts in, the time, and he's doing what he needs to do for his job. And then payday comes, and he's going to get his paycheck, and there's no paycheck. And he's like he's all in a quandary. What's going on? Where's my paycheck? I worked so hard. Where is it? And he finally gets in touch with the payroll officer, and the payroll officer, was like, okay, he's looking in to see what's going on, why there's no paycheck. And then he looks at the timesheet, and he says, did you work? I don't see any hours here. You didn't clock in and out. Were you clocking in and out? And the worker's like, I'm working hard. I did the job. I went in and I did this, I did. But then the payroll clerk is like, but I don't see the time here. Your timesheet is blank. You weren't clocking in and out. So for me, when I'm issuing a paycheck, I see a blank paycheck. There's no blank timesheet. I can't issue a paycheck. It's blank. It's null. Or another example, for the youth that might be here, who might be able to relate to this. Imagine a basketball team, and they have an excellent dribbler. They have they're great at passing. They're very fast on their feet, but they're not shooting the ball in the hoop. What's going to happen at the end of the game? They're running circles around the other team, but they're not shooting the ball in the hoop. If they're not shooting the ball in the hoop, they're not going to score the points. So all of that running around, back and forth, they're working really hard, putting up a lot of sweat, but they're not putting the ball in the hoop. If the other team just puts in one basket, they're going to lose. And I remember my soccer days when I'm playing soccer. I've seen that. We work so hard to get the ball from the defense all the way to the other side, and then our coach on the side is like, shoot, shoot, shoot. He's just yelling and screaming. And if you don't shoot, what happens? You don't get the point. You don't win. You lose. So in a simplistic way, right? This is the salah. And we have to change our paradigm shift. It's not that I'm praying so that Allah give me a good job. I'm praying so Allah give me food. Or I'm praying so Allah gives me the wife. No. It's the other way around. You want the job, you want the food, you want the shelter, you want these things so that you have peace of mind. You have good health. So that when you pray, you can pray with khushu'. You don't have any distractions. That's the way you should be looking at it. That you take care of all the worldly needs so they're out of your way, so that when you do finally come and you have that appointment with Allah, you're not distracted with a hungry stomach, or you have sick, or you have a roof over your head, and you're able to concentrate and focus on Allah. And so, inshallah, I just want to end with this one hadith, because of course at this point, salah can become a burden. So how do we change that from it being a burden to something that's like a living salah? And so it's related in another hadith that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, teach me something, but make it concise." And subhanAllah, this must be somebody from our time, he doesn't have time for a long lecture. He wants something quick. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, basically gave him 3 points to focus on. When you stand for your prayer, then pray as if you are saying farewell. Do not say anything for which you must apologize for, and abandon the desire to acquire what other people have. And for our lecture here, I think the first point is basically it's the point that I want to focus on, which is when you stand for prayer, then pray as if you're saying farewell. I mean, think about that. If you and again, it's easier said than done, but if you can mentally, when you're about to pray, just think, that I only have 5 minutes. That's it. I'm not going to live beyond 5 minutes. If you can do that, then what becomes important? Your appointment tomorrow, or your bill, or even if you have cancer and you're dying of cancer, whatever. If you can convince yourself, look, I only have 5 minutes to live, then what is more important right now, when you're about to pray, than doing what Allah loves the most? which is Salah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا